as the new Dragon Ball Super manga kicks off its story by introducing a very powerful and menacing. Are our heroes in over their heads in battling against an ancient enemy that can grow using others' energy? Is it possible to see the reintroduction of Ultra Instinct in the Dragon Ball Super manga against Moro if all else fails? Would it be the perfect time for Ultra Instinct to square off against an energy-stealing enemy? On today's video, we discuss the possibility of Ultra Instinct Goku in the new Dragon Ball Super Galactic Patrol Prisoner arc next. The idea and concept of Moro in the new Dragon Ball Super Galactic Patrol Prisoner manga arc depicts Moro in being one of the most formidable opponents that not only the mortals have faced in that residing universe, but also the Kaioshin who had battled against them 10 million years ago. Many fans within the Dragon Ball community are seemingly begging the question as to what is the overall direction for Moro going to be once he does inevitably cross paths with Goku and Vegeta in battle, and especially after realizing what his wish could potentially be, and with Moro having to be very depleted on energy and very old, what does this mean going forward for the Moro character as we enter the brand new manga chapter? And especially for the arc itself, what is going to be the overall direction for our heroes in order to combat someone like Moro who is unlike anyone they've ever faced before? And to this, I propose the idea of Ultra Instinct Goku having to be reintroduced in the new Dragon Ball Super manga arc, having to follow the events of Goku and Vegeta facing off against such a powerful opponent like Moro. If Moro is supposed to be labeled and depicted as the Baphomet or Satan of the story, then by default, just as we've seen prior, Super Saiyan Blue, Super Saiyan God, or anything in between is basically going to be handled lightly by Moro once he does inevitably have his magic restored and his full powers intact. On the previous video, I spoke about how Beerus would be a great deciding factor in seeing Beerus versus Moro in the new Dragon Ball Super manga arc. However, if they don't go into the direction of having Beerus be the deciding factor in what destroys Moro in this story, then the only other alternative to go with, if not having to have Super Saiyan Blue be the deciding factor of the story, is to have Goku reintroduce Ultra Instinct once more. And one of the many reasons behind why Ultra Instinct would be the only great and only alternative deciding factor in having Moro be put down by Goku and Goku only is if Moro goes as far as to deplete Goku and Vegeta of enough energy to where he not only turns the tides on them, but also uses his influence and magic to further cause them harm. We know at this point Super Saiyan Blue is basically useless. We saw what Super Saiyan Blue is capable of against Merge Zamasu, against Hit, Jiren in the Tournament of Power, and even in the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie. So by default, yes, Super Saiyan Blue is a very powerful transformation when compared to Super Saiyan 1, Super Saiyan 2, Super Saiyan 3, Super Saiyan God. However, if Goku and Vegeta don't include the mastery of the Super Saiyan Blue form, or the introduction of Super Saiyan Blue Evolution, or Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken in the manga, then at that point Goku and Vegeta will stand no chance of having to apprehend, let alone defeat Moro in a position to where Moro is now at full power. And if Super Saiyan Blue ends up being tossed aside once Moro does inevitably restore his magic, then what does that mean for Goku and Vegeta going forward? It would be far too soon to see the reintroduction of any of the fusions, which include Gogeta and or Vegeto, being that at this current time the only logical fusion method to go about this situation right now would be the Meta-Marise fusion. But after having to come off Dragon Ball Super Broly and seeing Gogeta versus Broly, the likelihood of seeing Gogeta versus Moro is beyond slim to none, a 0.1% chance in seeing that scenario unfold once again, especially coming off of a fusion fight an entire arc previous to this. So the only other alternative method to go about this situation, if they don't end up pulling out the Daikaio from Majin Buu's body and having Daikaio, Majin Buu, or even Beerus be involved, or even giving Goku and Vegeta a brand new form, is to reintroduce the power that the gods revered during the Tournament of Power. Now, one of the many reasons as to why this would be essential, number one, is to see Moro's initial reaction in having to witness a mortal achieve a power in which the gods themselves have not, and only then could we see what the powers of Moro's magic would be like going up against a seemingly unstoppable opponent, in the sense to where Goku cannot be touched. And we saw how impressive Goku was in using Ultra Instinct in both the manga and the anime against Jiren, and ever since, we've never seen it again, minus Dragon Ball Heroes. But even then, Ultra Instinct could be a subconscious state to where Goku taps into in not realizing the power had been restored to him, but also using that ability in countering the abilities and magic that Moro dishes out against him. Again, we don't know too much about Moro, but one thing that is established is that Moro has no empathy towards any life form, which includes deities and mortals. But even when setting aside the concept of Ultra Instinct having to battle against a fully powered Moro, this gives us the opportunity to see what Ultra Instinct can really do, especially following the events of the Tournament of Power. Ultra Instinct and the power of Ultra Instinct was only showcased and debuted during the Tournament of Power and never showcased following the events into Dragon Ball Super Broly. So what better way to have such a divine power return than against an adversary that seemingly enough has no weak point, especially if Moro magic is supposed to be something of significant importance that no other character can get by aside from requesting and assisting the aid of the Daikaio to aid them during the course of this battle. If Moro's magic is that influential and that powerful, then what other way to counteract that than to have a power that not even the gods of destructions have mastered themselves? I think the concept of Ultra Instinct should be utilized, because what's the point of giving us a brand new quote form if the form was never showcased following its inception? The same thing applies to Super Saiyan God. It took us a long time to see Super Saiyan God be reintroduced in the anime and in the manga following the events of Battle of Gods, and now the same applies here, with Ultra Instinct having to be showcased during the Tournament of Power and not having to follow after. This would be a perfect opportunity to have Goku get beat into a subconscious state to where he reactivates Ultra Instinct and carries on from there. Or they can go down the manga route and have Goku remember the teachings of Master Roshi and said individuals and reactivating Ultra Instinct in the form of a martial art and having to use that as a means to counter whatever Moro does. Either way, the concept of Ultra Instinct at some given point needs to be reused in the show in order to solidify its position and where it stands in comparison to other forms and currently where Goku gauges in terms of power. Now realistically, as much as people would not prefer to see Ultra Instinct anytime soon, I think it's the perfect time to have Goku tap back into this power unwillingly. That way it sets the stage and later on down the road with Goku having to acquire and mastering this technique and power as he prepares himself for an eventual rematch against Beerus if they want to go in that direction. The concept of Ultra Instinct cannot be removed simply by writing it off, because it was heavily executed in both the anime and the manga as a technique and power that not even the gods of destruction themselves have acquired and or mastered. And the only beings current to our knowledge right now that have any knowledge on Ultra Instinct in its mastery and utilization are the angels. A good example of this is Whis, but the likelihood of seeing Whis involved against Moro is slim to none. Especially seeing the difference in power between Whis and our current characters, it's safe to say that if Whis were to engage against Moro, Whis would utterly stomp Moro, and that in and of itself would be a boring fight. However, when looking at Goku and Vegeta's Super Saiyan Blue forms, it's safe to say that even their default blue forms aren't going to be enough, so what better way to introduce a very powerful villain by having his magic restored and having his full powers resurrected to him than to have this character beat our heroes down, so much so very similar to Jiren in the Tournament of Power, to where Goku subconsciously awakens this power within him and using that to his advantage. Eventually they're going to have to come up with a brand new power and or form that supersedes Super Saiyan Blue, which currently, at least in the anime, there is. An example of powers and or power-ups that are stronger than Super Saiyan Blue are Super Saiyan Blue Evolution and Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken. But being that in the manga we haven't seen those be introduced, the closest thing we have to an upgrade to Super Saiyan Blue is the mastery of Super Saiyan Blue in the manga, because again, we've never seen Kaioken or Super Saiyan Blue Evolution be fully adapted in the manga adaptation. Even though I do believe in my heart of hearts that Vegeta is potentially able to use Super Saiyan Blue Evolution, the likelihood of that form reappearing again is again unknown. So I think the only way, if you don't want to introduce Beerus, if you don't want to introduce the Daikaio or Majin Buu's abilities and magic against Moro, the only alternative in defeating someone like Moro is to have a power greater than Super Saiyan Blue, in this case Ultra Instinct, be the deciding factor in which puts Moro down. Not only in the sense to where Goku would be greater in power, but the fact that Moro would try to do everything in his ability to either defeat or obtain the powers of Goku's Ultra Instinct form by draining the life out of him. I do believe that it would be an interesting scenario to see Moro's magic be pit up against the transformation and or technique that can simply dodge everything that its opponents throw at him. As an example of this was seeing Jiren versus Goku. Of course, Goku was able to dodge everything Jiren was throwing at him, so here things wouldn't be any more different. However, we are fighting someone that uses purely magic to his advantage. So even though theoretically Moro may not be on the level of Ultra Instinct, what defines Moro so far in the Dragon Ball Super manga is not only his power, but more importantly, his magic. And yes, we've seen characters that were able to display different kinds of magical abilities in the past before, but there's something about Moro in the Dragon Ball Super manga that's going to make him stand out just a bit more than anybody we've seen previous in the Dragon Ball Z universe. So with that being said, how do we stop someone whose magical abilities supersede anyone's that we've seen prior to his introduction? Which again, I propose the idea, if they don't want to use a concept such as Beerus and having to be introduced as a main point in the story and going along the routes of introducing a different character to be the hero of the story, then I do believe the only other option to go with here that would make sense, especially if Moro is supposed to be that powerful when it comes to strength and magic, is to reintroduce Ultra Instinct. But by the end of this, I want to get your thoughts in the comment section below. What do you guys think about the concept of Ultra Instinct? Is it too early to introduce in the manga and in the show? Would it sort of be an illogical concept for them to add in, especially having to have Ultra Instinct reappear now? Or do you guys agree that Ultra Instinct would be a deciding factor in this battle, considering the fact that Moro would be a very formidable opponent, so why not have a transformation formidable enough to combat such a being? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you all so much for watching, guys. Once more, if you guys are new to this channel and love Dragon Ball, don't forget to smash that subscribe button, turn on all notifications, check out the previous video discussing Beerus versus Moro, and again, I want to get your theories and comments in the comment section below. Thank you all once more for watching. I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll be seeing you all down in the comment section below. Have a great day, guys. Peace.
This is the Galactic Emperor of the Universe, and of course I'm here to tell you to subscribe to UnrealEntGaming and all his social media platforms. Also, don't forget to turn on notifications so you can be the first to know every time that he uploads a new video.
Oh, did someone say UnrealEntGaming? Oh my god.
The fuck, someone? Put on some clothes!
Well, why don't you put on any clothes?
What? I don't need clothes. Jesus Christ, that's huge!